So, how
Do you have a light?
ever to know? You always tell me.
Get her.
This doesn't have to be a scene.
It really, really does. I'd like to remind you all that I'm doing this in heels.
What was your name?
Cruella.
Well, if you're looking for an Emina, have I got the place for you? Or really, the movie for you, Cruella. That's right, Cruella. You all know Cruella de Vil through several incarnations through Disney's movies. It's all based on the book, though, from the 1950s by Dodie Smith. But Disney did, of course, a 1961 animated classic, 101 Dalmatians, featuring the ultimate Disney villain, Cruella de Vil, who likes to make fur coats out of Dalmatian puppies. Oy. Then it was remade as a live-action kind of story, both in 1996 with 101 Dalmatians live-action film and 102 Dalmatians in 2000, both starring Glenn Close, really going over the top as Cruella. Glenn Close returns as an executive producer here on the latest live-action incarnation of Cruella, and that is an origin story. This is much more in line with what we see with the comic book trends in movies, such as Joker. This seems more in line with that kind of movie rather than Disney's live-action remakes, particularly ones focusing on villains like Maleficent with Angelina Jolie, which has sparked a couple of movies now, including that origin story. Well, here, this is set mostly in the 1970s punk London era here and revolves around the young Cruella. Actually, her name is Estella, and we first see her with her mother. She's a young girl here, played by Tipper Seifert Cleveland, and seems to have a pretty good life. She has this black and white hair that she covers up with red dye to keep from being bullied by kids at school. She still is. She's her own person, very unique in this way. Goes out to visit this big castle there where the Baroness von Hellman, and Hellman is the right name here, played by Emma Thompson. She sort of holds court. She is the fashion maven of the scene at this time, and that is where the young Estella and then the older Estella, when she's now in her 20s, played by Emma Stone, comes into her sphere, as it were. But before we get to that, the young Estella sees her mother go to a grisly death, falling over in the cliff into the water there, wondering how that happened, who was responsible, that she watches as her beloved mother here, played by Emily Beecham. Nevertheless, time passes, and there she is, kind of a small-time thief with her buddies. Jasper, played by Joel Fry. He's so good in this. Remember the movie Yesterday, most recently with him, Game of Thrones. And Horace, Paul Walter Hauser, and they're helping her out in this kind of small-time endeavor until Jasper actually winds up getting her a job as a janitor at the big department store there in London, Liberty Department Store.
She thought she owned everyone.
It's foolish. Unhinged. Well, you're fired. Why are you speaking?
I think you've nicked me.
She can't kind of go straight here. She's trying to keep to her ways, but she does redesign the whole department store window one night, and that is a kind of a wild display that gets her in a lot of trouble and actually gets her fired until it is noticed by none other than Baroness von Hellman as she comes into the store. She wants to know who did it. She thinks it's kind of different. Well, bring attention. This is the kind of person maybe she wants working for her. And so, job is saved, and all of a sudden, well, Estella is now working under the tutelage of the very, very difficult and kind of straight, broadly played here Baroness. Emma Thompson going all to the hilt in this role, and really is the evil influence. Even though it's called Cruella, the real evil person here seems to be the Baroness, who's got her sights set on what she wants from life and treats the young Estella not that well. But one day, Stella notices a necklace that the Baroness is wearing. That happens to be the necklace that her mother, before her death, left to her. How did she get that? And she wants it back, and so she brings in friends Jasper and Horace to try to steal it back. And that all comes in there as she makes an appearance totally in disguise now. She's decided to become Cruella. She comes up with that name and makes her entrance and causes a big stir among the media there and everybody, suddenly covering this mysterious guest who comes to a black and white ball, this big ball there that the Baroness is throwing, and makes the attempt to steal that necklace back and finds out a little more than she bargained for in the prospect. This is all in Cruella, about a 2.5 hour, maybe slightly less movie version here, telling us how she came about. But is she as wicked? How could Cruella turn into that character from 101 Dalmatians, where she wants to kill innocent Dalmatian puppies and wear them? Well, she's not quite the same here. In fact, dogs are treated very nicely here. Now, the Baroness has 3 Dalmatians that she keeps here, and then that's meant to intimidate people. A lot of the dog action here is CGI oriented, but they are not dogs. You're not going to see dogs carved up and turned into coats here. In fact, there's a label at the end of the movie that says urging you to adopt a dog, and so this is very dog friendly, ironically, considering it's all about Cruella de Vil. But nevertheless, it's all good fun, and it really does resemble those kind of comic book adaptations, more like Joker than anything else. The supporting cast is very good, in addition to everyone I've mentioned here so far. And there's Mark Strong too, who you've seen him in so many movies. He plays John, the valet for the Baroness, and he's got his own kind of mysterious thing going on.
Don't worry, there's lots more bad things coming.
It's worth seeing, and I've got to point out the costume design by Jenny Bevin is to die for. It is so good, and this movie's a lot of fun for fans. You're not going to be disappointed. Emma Stone and Emma Thompson are both terrific in it and worth seeing. So for Cruella, I say watch.